week's Parshas וישב, something very nice from the Rebbe's father, Rebbe Levi Yitzchok Zatzal. In this week's Parshas we have the Shvatim with Yosef. And then they came to Yaakov Avinu, and they took Yosef's coat, they put it into the blood of a goat, and they brought it back to Yaakov, and he said, "Oh, I recognize this. This is the coat from Bini, my son. Chaye roa chalosu, must have been a wild animal, devoured him." And then it says, Toroif toiraf Yosef. Must be that Yosef was torn apart. Meforshim ask, why does it say twice the word Toroif toiraf Yosef? Also, why in the beginning does he call him Bini, my son, and here he calls him by his name Yosef? Now, it seems like the Rebbe's father is going to answer these questions. But I want to just give a short Hagdama. It's known that the Rebbe's father wrote hundreds of what's called the Rishimois. Rishimois is writing of a certain topic, and he would explain Amayim Chazal. And sometimes go 10 pages, sometimes they go 30, 40 pages. Hundreds and hundreds of pages, thousands perhaps, the Rebbe's father wrote, and we don't have it. But we see that in the writings of his Svarim that we do have, he mentions it. And it's chaval. It's very sad that we don't have those incredible teachings. On this week's Parshas, in this subject, he mentions that I wrote barichos about this inyan, and he mentions a few lines over here. And what he does mention is so incredible, I want to share that with you, even though, again, perhaps we're missing the whole depth because we don't have the whole writing of his teaching. And he writes that, why does it say twice the word Toroif, Toiraf, Yosef? What's the twice two words? Also, every word in Torah is exact. The fact that he uses the word Treifa, it must be there's a connection here with Yosef and Treif. Comes Rabbi Levi says a mind-boggling thing. He says, the Gemara says in Chulin, Daf Mem Gimel Amar Aleph, that Halacha Moshe Misinai, the Eibishter gave, there are 8 general types of ways that an animal could become a treif. I'm not going to go into all the details. If you want, you can look it up. The Rambam in Hilchas Shchita, in Chelik, in Perek Hey of Hilchas Shchita, he says the 8. And then the Rambam says these words. There are general 8 topics, like if the animal falls is one of them, if he's torn, if he was he was born with a limb that's not kosher, missing a limb, all types of ways that animal could become treif. But then the Rambam says that that's the general names 8. But then there are a lot of details, pratim, in each one. And how many are total of how many things you have to look at for an animal to be kosher? So then, in Perek Tes, after he makes all the prokim from Perek Hey, Vov, Zayin, Ches, Tes, Yud, all the 8, a Perek for almost each one, he describes all the details. He says now there are 70 types of blemishes that make an animal treif. So there are 8 subjects, topics, names, and details of the 70, of the 8 is 70. So 8 and 70. In the Hilchas Treifers, you have 8 and 70. 8 general names and 70 details. You can look up in Rambam again, Hilchas Shchita, Perek Yud. The Rambam writes out all of them in details. Comes up, Levi says an unbelievable thing. Since over here in the pasuk it says twice Toroif, Toiraf, twice Treifa. So we have over here now the number of 2 times the halachas of Treifa. 8 generals and 70. Again, 8 general and 70. How much is that together? 78 and 78. 78 and 78 is 156. So the Hilchos of Treifas twice has a total of the number 156. And 156 adds up exactly to Yosef. 156. So Toroif, Toirav, twice Treifa, the Hilchas of Treifa, which is 78 and 78, adds up to Yosef. Not only that, goes a step further, Rabbi Levi Yitzchok, and says in the letters of Yosef is hinted the twice Treifa. Because we said the halachas of Hilchas Treifa is the 8 is the general names, and then you have the 70, the details. Since it says twice in the pasuk Toroif, Toirav, twice Treifa, you have twice the general names 8 and 8, which is 16, and then you have the details 70 and 70, which is 140, and that is exactly how the name of Yosef divides. Yudvov, Samach Pei is the letters of his name. The first two letters of his name is Yudvov, is 16, corresponding to the main halachas of Treifa, which is 8 and 8, 16, Yudvov. And then the Samach Pei is 140, and 140 is twice 70. So we have now over here, Toroif, Toirav, and that's why he mentions Yosef. And so the halachas of Treifa, the numbers of 70 and 8, is connected to the name of Yosef. That's why I said that Yosef is missing over here. I see over here there's a init from Treifa. And the halachas of Treifa is 78, 78, Yosef, the details, and Yosef is not here. And that's why he mentions over not Bini, but Yosef to connect twice Treifa to Yosef. Now, this is the wording that this few lines that he mentions when he quotes the Rishima in many, many other places of his writings. He talks about it, the difference between the letters of Yudvov and the letters of Samach Pei. And I'm not sure if it's connected or not. Basically, the Yosef was the one who, this way he explains in other places, was the one who was supposed to give over everything from Yankov to the Shvatim. That's why he was the head of the Yidden and Mitzrayim. He brought all the Shvatim down, he took care of them, not only Begashmis, but also Beruchnis. And Yosef had two levels, so to say. There was the level of the Samach Pei, the 70 and the 70, and then there was the letter of the Yudvov, the 8 and 8. And in general, if I'm not making a mistake, he talks about this is the two ways of learning Nigla the Torah and Pnimis Torah, two levels of Yosef, but I don't want to go into it because I'm not sure that is the beer. But I did want to mention just this few lines, the unbelievable connection of the mitzvah from Hilchas Treifa, the 8 and the 70, 78, 78, 156 and Yosef, and also the details. And that's why Yankov said twice the word, because this is ultimately the gematria of Yosef, Sai in general, Bechloles, and also the details. So I just wanted to mention this. It's like a genius of to put it together, the Hilchas Treifa and the name of Yosef. And this is the beautiful reason why it says twice, Toroif, Toirav, Yosef.